Ego and pride aside. I know you, but I don't know you. You know you, but do you know you? Ego and pride aside. You know me, but you don't know me. I know me, but do I know me? Ego and pride.
What time is it?
E.P.A.
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 Hey, this is Gant.
KD.
We're back at it once again. Today's topic, we're going to talk about that life. Boneyard or iron yard. When I talk about boneyard or iron yard, all we're doing is talking about basically being incarcerated, or better yet, as you guys talk about it, y'all be saying prison, you know, the bang, just being locked up in general. A lot of us, we glorify prison life and try to make it up here, but in all actuality, it's down here. What do you feel about when I talk about boneyard and iron yard?
So when you say boneyard and boneyard to iron yard, what do you mean by that? When you say boneyard to iron yard, what do you mean?
For me, it's just basically like my opinion.
Okay.
My opinion is how I look at it, how I view it. I mean, my view is my view.
Mm-hmm.
Your view is your view. For those that's watching it, it's their view. Those that been there, you know, and understand how it is truthfully when you're inside of there. Truthfully, for me, I look at it as if it's the boneyard or it's the iron yard,
yeah,
it's one and the same.
Okay.
It's one and the same. Because either way it go, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're in that iron yard, in that prison, truthfully, you know what I'm saying? You're alive, you're breathing, but in all actuality, what can you do from that position?
So when you said about like that life, when you're talking about like that life,
Mm-hmm.
are you pertaining to that life in prison, or that life during prison, or that life doing time? And what do you mean by when you say that life?
When I talk about that life, I'm talking about as far as like individuals living that fast life, the street life, and the results in which it'll put you there, one way or the other, you know. So as you look at it, you say to yourself how you want it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's only two ways that you're going to get it. It's going to be either in that grave or it's going to be in that prison yard, you know, walking that main line.
So what's your experience what's your experience being in prison? Like a lot of times, when you look at a rap video, I think a rap video is only about 2 or 3 minutes. Within this 2 or 3 minutes, you have somebody driving a fresh car. They're geared in. They might even be in a prison jumpsuit in the video.
Yeah.
And that's only 2 minutes. But a lot of people, they spend life, years in prison. What's your experience just being in jail, and the idea of over glamorizing the marketing of being in jail and doing time?
Overall, I mean, as far as for me, I would say I am you, and you. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is individuals that basically have their opinion, but never actually walked on that yard or been in that situation or been in a 23-hour lockdown. That is, you only get 1 hour out, you know, to take your shower, work out, and talk on the phone. For me, the King County, or when you go to jail, mm-hmm. that's like a prep to get you ready to go to prison.
Yeah.
Because it puts you in some type of confinement, you know, and everybody's kind of up-spirited,
yeah.
You know, besides those that's going to trial, mm-hmm. you know, or when they receive that sentence. Mm-hmm. But as far as myself, I had accepted that ending. You know, I was one of them individuals that accepted that ending.
So kind of like you do the crime, do the time, or whatever the results is.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
And you got to think about it as well. I was young. So with being young, you know, we all have our looks at life, you know, and how we view life. And at that time, you really don't view life because you really don't know where you're going at that particular time. You know, so you're in this world that you're living in, and one thing that you're always told, You know what I mean? Is that for me, I had a teacher.
Okay.
His name was Mr. Dinwiddie.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to Franklin High School. He always called me Mr. Matthews. He never called me, by my first name.
Yeah.
Or if he did, I was in trouble if he called me by my full name,
Yeah.
you know. And he used to always say, Mr. Matthews, the way you're going to end up in jail, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or you're going to end up dead. You know, he used to always reiterate that to me, you know. And that always rung in my head when I actually finally reached prison.
Okay.
You know. And for me, it was more or less something I already accepted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I already accepted that that's where I was going, and for the things that, you know what I'm saying, I was doing. So I was taking responsibility. But when you go in a place like that, everybody's innocent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then those that confide in you and tell you, you know what I'm saying, that they actually did whatever they do, me personally, I just say, I don't even want to know. You know what I'm saying?
So so you've been in prison before?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Now there's a lot of programs out there when it comes like the prisoner pipeline. There's a lot of programs out there trying to get people not to go back to prison or stay away from that, the prison life. Do you have any particular problems with people glorifying prison life, like when they glorify it? Like when it comes to, you being a father too, and you having a kid, and and you spending a little bit of time in prison. Do you find like it's people look at being in prison as like a badge of honor? Like,
yeah,
I've been in prison. Here goes my prison badge, or do you have any comments or anything about that? Or
for a person that glorifies something to where they put you away, basically in a cage or in a small world within a world, I don't feel that they actually really accepted the fact that you're at means to an end, because actually that is the end. It's almost if you're like a dead man walking, because I feel like this: any man that can glorify something such as that, and to be locked away from his family, away from, if he got kids, away from his kids.
Mm-hmm.
For me at the time, I didn't have any kids at that time. So, and I went in at 20 years of age.
Yeah. So
for me to go in at age 20 and to get out at 35. So you do the math, And for me, I can remember my whole, situation as far as when I went in. I was sitting at the table now, and I got found guilty, and I went up for sentencing. And the judge said, we're going to sentence you to 190 months.
Okay.
And it's a true story. So it said, I'm going to sentence you to 190 months. So we all know math, 190 months off top, you don't know what that is.
Yeah. So
I can remember leaning over to my attorney, my lawyer, and I asked him, I said, what is 190 months? That's what I asked him. So he leans back over to me and he says, that's 15 years, 10 months. So me being 20, about to turn 21, I do the calculation, right? At max bid, I said, I'll be 35. So I'm going to be honest, I leaned back in my seat.
Yeah.
And I said, I got that, because I'm feeling I'm young at this time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and, the things that I've been through and kind of geared me, you know what I'm saying, to take that path, you know what I mean? It was, I accepted it for what it was, you know what I mean, at the end of the day. But one thing I will say, all in that experience in itself, as far as looking at it now and then looking at it then, that was a cold mind state to have, to where you can sit up there and say, I got that.
Yeah, but do you think you had any other options? Because see, some people, a lot of times people judge the state of mind where people at when they're younger, or in certain scenarios, in certain situations. But what other options sometimes that people actually have?
As far as what do you mean by options?
Just what I mean by options is, could you have seen yourself? Was you innocent in what you did?
No, I wasn't innocent. I mean, you can look at it like this. There's not too many people in certain situations that's truly 100% innocent.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing I will say, when you're in them situations, it's in what you can prove.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes what presented in front of the case, in front of the courts, is not actually what took place, but they have the pieces that can make it look, this is what actually took place.
Yeah.
So for me, I was present. I was the sole individual. So there was a sense of responsibility for what took place. So in my situation, you know, a person lost their life. And from what they said that took place, it didn't happen in which the way that they said it took place. But they had the evidence, like, you know what I'm saying, to present this way.
Yeah.
This is what happened. They can make the story up. And if, you know, they got the best experts, so forth and so on, they can make things look the way that they want it to look. And if they can paint a good picture to the jury, it's going to look as though this is what took place. And then they have this thing where in between these, it has like, it's in your case law, as far as what the crime means.
Yeah.
And if it answers every element within that crime,
Mm-hmm.
this is basically what took place. So what they'll do is they'll say, did this take place in this case? Yes, it did. Did this take place in this case? Yes, it did. And they come up with their own scenario.
So, what do you when you're talking about the boneyard to the iron yard and that whole prison experience, how did it feel? So you got convicted when you was 21 and you had a 15-year bid that you had to do.
Yeah.
And everyone watched those movies like American Me and what's the one movie, South Central or whatever, the one South Central.
Oh, you're talking about it's with the Deuces.
The Deuces,
yeah,
whatever
that was,
movie.
I think that was something like South Central.
South Central or some kind of movie.
Mm-hmm.
What was your experience with people that's just being in prison? What was some of what's some of your experiences? What are some of the most tear touching moments? You know, what is the most? Is there any specific, you know, violent moments that took place, or any kind of rites of passage? Because I feel that, you know, for people who've been in jail and they go to jail at an early age, a lot of times prison could be a rites of passage for people, where they learn something from an experience or a scenario or a situation that's in prison.
Well, at that particular time, for me, I was already like prepped and geared for things that's put before me. You know, man is a man. At that time, there was no guns in there.
Yeah.
So I feel that, you know, I handled myself very well. So with that whole thing, as far as going in, being feared, so forth, there was some confusion because I remember I was going through receiving.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going through receiving. It's like a R unit, you know, before you head off to, you know, whatever prison that you're going to go to. And I was in there with a cellie, and I heard some voices.
So what's a cellie for people that's people at home?
A cellie is a person that's
in a cellmate.
In a cellmate
Okay.
that's in the room with you.
Right.
And we're in there, you know, because it's my first time ever being down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I heard stories and so forth and so on, but not to the extent of being out. You know what I'm saying? As far as when you're moving freely, you don't really pay too much attention to it. But when you go to county jail, you hear all the stories. You hear the older cats, you know, at the time, they're telling the stories and so forth and so on. Because one thing I will say, when I was inside and I used to go into jail, and I used to hear the older guys are just, you know, older guys is doing time.
Yeah.
They should be ranting and raving about giving me a year and a day. So I'm tripping like, hey, what you want a year and a day? Because they want to give them 6 months.
Yeah.
In the county jail, or 8 months in the county jail. They saying, I'm telling my attorney to give me a year and a day. So I'm saying, this guy want more time in a situation like this? But I didn't get it. But the thing is, once they explained it to me, once you go up, you get the more privileges, you get more movement and so forth and so on.
So you're able to go
out
the county to like a prison where you have more privilege.
You got yard and so forth and so on. So that in itself, once it was explained to me as far as the movement, and true indeed, once you do get to that level, as far as going to, you know, coming from the county jail after you get sentenced for so forth and so on, you do get like that sense of a little more freedom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because that's what it is. They give you this little bit of space to move around. If you're in rack back tanks or if you're in open tanks, due to, my activity inside, I was mostly in rack back tanks. But once you get to prison, now you get access to the phone more, then you can go to the gym, you can walk the yard, so forth and so on. So you get more of a free feeling as far as when you go to like the R units. R units is basically, they're going to make the decision, like a classification, before you go off, to the joint.
So you got a lot of information about prison because you did 16 years, so you have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
So if somebody has some unfortunate circumstance where like a family member or somebody they knew, they went to prison for the first time, especially for a lot of mothers, fathers, that their kid is falling victim to the prison system, and they're at the age of like, they're just young, first time in prison. Is there any kind of like, any kind of preparation that if somebody was to be able to be consulted by somebody who'd been in prison before and you want to give some of that information to a parent or to a loved one, and say, for example, someone just called you up and said, hey, Gant, I don't know nothing about prison whatsoever. My son he's just got 15, 20 years. What advice can I give him if I during the visiting time? What kind of advice? Is there any kind of advice or anything just off the top of your head? Just in a quick summary. I know that's a lot.
I mean, a quick summary as far as advice that I feel that you can actually.
We could help younger people out there.
Yeah, I mean, for a parent or a mother, where her young son is about to go inside, one thing he would want to do, he would like to go in with whatever he had, that whatever had sent him inside for one. He want to make sure that he's not going in there in order to just relive and try to correct whatever he was in there for.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So he want to go in there with a different mind state for one. And in a lot of situations, a lot of individuals, they are actually feared in the inside, but you can't go in there looking scared or feared, because it's just like almost like with your emotions.
Yes.
It's like almost like blood being dropped in the water in shark-infested waters.
Oh shit!
So with that whole scenario and situation, you better not go in there showing no signs of fear. Yeah. Because people pick up on it, and if a person pick up on it, and if you got somebody that did, a number of years, you know what I mean, and now all of a sudden he don't look at a man as a man. You know what I'm saying? If they showing, uncharacteristics as far as they come with a man. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're gonna look at him in a different way. So as far as to answer that question, only thing that person can actually do is basically pick his program. Okay. As far as the mom can tell him to get on his program, get his schooling, so forth and so on, and really just more so less like now. I heard you can stick more to yourself. When I failed, it wasn't about sticking to yourself. It was either if you wasn't a part of a gang or whatever the case may be, you would basically just roll with your people.
So was you part of the gang when you was in jail?
Nah. I just basically, when I came in.
Did you have challenges behind that? It's difficult?
Nah, for me it wasn't, because always was known. When I was in the streets, people already knew about me upstate, and then when you go in, they automatically know you, for the things that, that took place when you was out on the streets. So they'd be like, hey, we over here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So basically it'd be like the car that you in. Like for wherever you're from. Like they got cats from Tacoma. They got cats from, Seattle, so forth and so on. But if it's like a, Crip car, blood car, they might, be all together. They're gonna be all together. But for me, I just was like Seattle. What I mean? It was all about Seattle. And before I went in because I always been my own individual as far as in the streets. I rode how I wanted to roll. Did with how I wanted to do it. It wasn't about who's the shot caller or who's, the call of the car or just the politics in itself. So with me, it's almost like I solidified and I did what I needed to do in order to have the best outcome for me. You know what I mean? Because everybody's watching you. You know what I mean? And once everybody's watching you, all they're doing is looking for is some type of weakness. You know what I mean? A small argument,
Did you have any altercations when you was in jail? Any kind of
Oh yeah,
conflicts?
yeah. I mean, because a lot of people, they gonna want to test you.
Okay. Did
You
you have
know,
any particular time when somebody tested you in jail? People, you know.
I don't look at it as far as for me. It may have been a test because it's almost like a test to where they don't actually just put it out there, but it's like this: people are watching. So if you just say you're playing cards or you're on the basketball court and something goes foul on the basketball court, and somebody calls the individual out his name. When somebody calls you out your name inside, all ears is listening.
Yeah.
Everybody's listening. So now they're looking to see what type of reaction, you know what I'm saying, from the action that this individual.
I kind of look at it like maybe kind of like a demonstration. Like, so basically you're on stage,
yeah,
but you're not really acting. The situation just takes place. And then it's time to demonstrate what you're going to do in the situation.
Yeah.
You know, because you have people surrounding around you.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes you might be caught up in a situation, but everybody's watching. And everyone's going to hear about the scenario.
Oh, yeah.
So you're going to have to demonstrate what you want to do in a specific scenario. Yeah. Do you have any demonstrations that you've been part of?
Some things come natural. And for me, it always been more of a natural reaction as far as you don't let no man, step on your feet, kick you in the ass, spit in your face.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? On those scenario or whatever, the situation may be. So if the individual approach you, as far as me being a man, if it's approached with some type of aggression or forms or showing of aggression, it's time to get into, that stance.
So just to interject, yeah, I know you're on swole, you're off parole, but how big was you when you went into prison? How much did you weigh? Was you working out? Did you have muscles at the time?
I was cut up. Just put it like that.
So how much of a weight gain? How much of compared to was you is now? Because obviously if you look like you kind of on swole or something, people might not test you as likely as you're younger and you're more, how tall, how
then I was 100. I was actually 167. I was 167 pounds.
Damn.
Yeah, 167 pounds. When it was all said and done, I was up to, at 28 was my biggest. I was almost like 240.
Damn.
I was like 240. And when I left, I got down to like a good decent 215, lean, cut up, so forth and so on. But when I was 167, I was still cut up, but I was extremely small. You know what I'm saying? As far as height, so forth and so on. My height, I wasn't as far as some people say you stop growing at a certain age, but I ended up growing probably a couple more inches, give or take, a little bit more. But I mean, a lot of people, they be intimidated by size. That's the individuals that's intimidated by a person's,
Because I feel like a lot of times people be in prison, dudes be lifting heavy weights.
Yeah.
It's like they have this kind of intimidated. They want to feel like they're, if they're big, and they seem like nobody's gonna mess with them and stuff like that. That's why I asked you if you was that big when you went to the joint. And how was that experience?
It wasn't all about size. It was more of my mentality at that particular time. You know what I'm saying? I just, one thing for me is, and I think that helped me along the way, is for what was taking place when I was on the outside. For me, I didn't fear death. And what I mean by that, I didn't fear it. I accepted it. So it was like, if a person, you know what I'm saying, at that particular time, if he wasn't willing to go the whole distance, you know what I'm saying, I'm not the one to mess with. At that time, you know what I mean? So when I went in, it wasn't even about fear. It wasn't even about the stories that you hear and so forth and so on. It was more or less me going through another phase of my life, and what I had seen as far as at that particular time. I can remember I was trying to do the appeal process. You know what I mean? Because as everybody knows, you feel that, you know what I'm saying, how they did you as far as going through the court system. A lot of things wasn't true. And I was all in, you know what I'm saying, it didn't happen like that, so forth and so on. But at the end of the day, I had to be responsible, you know what I'm saying, for what actually took place. And in my situation, the person did lose his life.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to a situation like that, it holds me responsible for the simple fact that I put myself in that position, you know what I'm saying, to where whatever did take place, and it did happen the way that it happened, a person, you know, ended his life. So once I got past the appeal process,
Yeah.
as far as trying to fight and get back into courts, you know what I'm saying, to get my time, you know what I'm saying, took it up off me and so forth and so on. Once I passed that, that's when I accepted my time. You know, as far as I'm gonna knock this out, you know what I'm saying, and I'm gonna get to the next. But everybody's not like me. Everybody has their own experience as far as when they're looking at, you know, 15 years, you know what I'm saying, to do, and they're 20 years of age. You know what I'm saying? At that time, I just built different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I accepted it. I'm like, basically, you know what I'm saying, I adapt to my environment. Always been like that. You know what I mean? Wherever I go, I don't feel uncomfortable or whatever the case may be.
So was there any particular time throughout doing the time that there was like, where you felt like what kind of individual you are as a person, it was tested, like your stance was tested, that you had to feel like you had to, was there any particular time, like it could be with, you know, correctional officers, it could be with, you know,
oh yeah,
people,
I mean,
you know, like that was just challenging.
Yeah,
you are in jail, and people have a whole lot of power over you.
Yeah, well, I didn't
positions.
I didn't respect authority. Period. I mean, as far as at that time, and with that mind thought of not respecting authority, you don't want nobody telling you what to do. But now I'm in these people's world, so they run everything up in there. You know what I'm saying? They got the keys to everything. I don't got no key to anything. I got to put my hand up and tell them, hey, pop the door, or whatever the case may be, or wait till when it's, you know what I'm saying, that time to pop the door. So I had certain officers that, you know what I mean, that picked you out.
You know you. Ego and pride aside. You know me, but you don't know me. I know me, but do I know me? Ego and pride aside. I know you when you don't know you. You know me and I don't know me. That voice in your head been heard for a long time. Artificially a mystery in your own mind. In the car with you always hit you with the calm trash. Developing the issue with some shit you could've walked past. All that wrong math, long ass idling. Tribal shit when your mind's your best survival kit. At war with yourself, arguing with the barber dude. You your own worst enemy, sabotaging you. Voices and choices, don't drink the poison. Poised and wise, defining your own ordinance. Boys to men coming into your own consciousness. Waking up, finding yourself finally on top of shit. Ego and pride aside. I know you, but I don't know you. You know you, but do you know you? Ego and pride aside. You know me, but you don't know me. I know me, but do I know me? Ego and pride aside. I know you and you don't know you. You know me and I don't know me. Ego and pride aside.